Hello and welcome to Journeys and Journals. We're going to take a history trip back by mule train, and that's about my guest today. And it's not Monique, because Monique is the mule, but my guest is Harold. Meet Harold Teague. Thank you so much for coming today. Tell me about Monique.
Okay, now Monique is a burro.
Oh, not a donkey. Okay, a burro.
A mule is from a female horse and a male donkey.
Okay.
That's a mule.
Okay, and
A genet is the opposite.
okay.
See, but
You heard it here on Better Life TV.
but I started in 1946 with 12 mules and 3 saddle horses, packing at Crater Lake.
Oh.
That's where Crater Lake comes in.
How come were you packing at Crater Lake?
I packed the lookouts and fires.
What did
See?
you pack?
I packed supplies to the fire.
Anything.
Yes, I had 12 mules. I could carry a lot of stuff. But the reason that I had to pack to lookouts and fires, a lot of lookouts in those days, all of these lookouts were manned.
Or staffed women were
Yeah.
on those mountains
They
too.
weren't allowed to leave. They had to stay there 24 hours a day.
Are you talking wartime?
No, this is any time, and before the war ever came along, these lookouts were manned to watch for fire. That's what a lookout was for.
Right.
And they had no way of getting out because they'd miss the fire if they left. Somebody had to carry supplies to them, so that was my job.
Uh-huh.
But helicopters came into being. They began to replace me because they could do more in 2 hours than I could do in 2 days.
Uh-huh.
So then that's when I took up trail work. Well, I didn't need my 12 mules anymore. One was enough. Monique, the burro, and she could pack all I needed. I'd be gone for 10 days. I always started down on the Rogue River, all of the Coast Range, Pearsall Peak, and on down into California, cross over, come back up Grayback, east of Cave Junction, and cover all of that country, keeping the backpacking trails open.
Oh,
That-
so you did trail work.
Trail
then.
work, see? We kept trails open. I built a new trail into Babyfoot Lake, and it just made me sick when that fire went through there, because I had spent one summer building that new trail into Babyfoot, and it all went up in smoke. You know, it don't look nothing like what I built.
Oh, I'll bet. I'll bet. Let's talk about your cane here. Why don't you,
Well, I have this cane
how
for-
come?
for a reason. I was falling a tree about the size of that table.
Oh,
I had made my undercut, which you have to do.
yeah.
And then I come on this side, and I just got started, and I didn't know it, but the whole thing was rotten, and it broke loose. And I heard it snap, but I couldn't get away. It mashed me into the ground. Broke 29 bones. That's why that crushed my leg completely. They fixed it pretty good in Grants Pass here, and then sent me to Portland. But the VA, might say, one of them doctors told me to walk on it. When I did, it collapsed 1.5 inches. That's why the high so. They bent the shaft. Say they put a shaft in it. The backbone's gone. The crushed many bones and 29 broken bones. You know.
Well, that shoe is something else.
Yeah.
And it's a new one too, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's why the shoe is thick soled, because it collapsed 1.5 inches. See.
Oh, okay, 1.5 inches.
Yeah. But
Now, how many years ago was that?
that's about 10 years ago. But I want to tell you the miracle of this tree. It crushed me into the ground, not a soul around. I hollered until I gave up. I said my prayers and accepted the fact that I was gone.
You're going to die there under a
Okay.
big tree.
But dogs know when something's wrong. Down the way to a house with a picket fence around it. The dog would hit the gate and hit the door, hit the gate and hit the door, and the woman said that somebody inside said, that dog has never done that, something's wrong. She come out and she heard me my
Hollering.
last holler. She turned the dog loose and he come to me, so she followed the dog. I looked up. I'm under this tree with 29 broken bones, bleeding, stuck, give up. When there she stood, and it was a cold, misty morning, and her body heat, because I'm explaining this away, but her body heat and that mist, it actually created a halo.
Ah.
It really did.
And she was your private angel. She
So,
saved you.
We became the best of friends.
Oh,
Well,
sure.
finally she moved away and gone for 5 years. Well, I speak in a lot of places. I speak in Ashland College and different museums. And I speak in the museum in Kirby, and the front door opened and there she stood. Well, of course, I invited her up front, told the story, and we spent the rest of the day together, and she said, I just had to come see you. She got in her car and went home. 2 weeks later, she died.
Oh,
Now, you think the Lord didn't have something to do with that?
and you got to tell her thank you in front of all these people at Kirbyville Museum?
Oh, she was just like, to me, God's gift.
Angel. Well, now, you mentioned that you've done other things up at Crater Lake. They didn't want any forest fire.
Oh, yes, I became the oldest forest firefighter in the United States.
When was that?
Just a few years ago, I went on my last fire. I was 74 years old. I went to Missoula, Montana, and helicopter, and we landed at the fire, and there was a fire boss over there, and he told my boss, he said, what in the world is that old man doing on this fire? Get him out of here. My boss said, in the first place, you leave that old man alone. He carries a fire card, the oldest one in the United States. The second place, he will kick you out of here.
I think you left.
So they left me alone, but I did. That's 74 years, unheard of.
Well, you know, firefighting is so essential here in the state of Jefferson. There's not a place here that hasn't been devastated. Like you said, was it Pearsall that the fire took out your trails? No. What mountain? That you said you'd done a whole year's work in there on the trail, and the forest fire came in and destroyed the whole...
Oh, it just makes me sick when I go out there. I go out there once in a while. I have to keep up.
What mountain was it? Or what's the last year's fire took it out?
No, that big fire we had at Babyfoot, what they call Babyfoot.
Oh, it's
Lake,
Babyfoot.
Where, because, now you see, Sheriff Daniels, he comes gets me once in a while, or asks me if you get lost people and they carry me off this wilderness, because I know where every water hole is from Rogue River to California.
Ah.
You get a person lost if they stumbling around and in their excitement, and especially if they're out there in the heat of it, summer, they get hot and they find water, they're afraid to leave it. I don't know of any that's ever left a water
hole
if they find one. Well, I know where a water hole is. I've found 2 people that way so far.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Sheriff Daniels knows that. He comes and asks me where certain places are.
Well, now you said that these lookouts and mules were up at Crater Lake. That's one of my favorite places. Do you have more Crater Lake stories? I see a picture right over here.
Well, I have what I do now. I take senior bus tours.
A bus tour. Now, how many of those bus tours have you ever done?
about once every 3 months.
And you've been doing it for a lot of years?
Oh yeah, but I have to have my stories straight, and I have to study and know that I'm right, because somebody on that bus might.
They might have one up you.
I can't get up there and start talking and say something,
Isn't the
because I run into that accidentally. I was going to talk about something, and a woman said something, and I asked her, and I wasn't right.
Ooh, you.
So I didn't say nothing, but you can bet from then on, I knew what I'm talking about, because somebody on that bus might.
There's Crater Lake in the summertime, right? But here it is in the snow. I love both seasons up there.
Yeah.
Had a big debate, is that in what county is Crater Lake in? Well, it seems to be almost in the corner.
Yeah, it is in the corner.
And so it's still Jackson County until you get just,
The other side.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Tell me about, what did you do at Crater Lake?
Well, there's quite a few lookouts around Crater Lake. And of course, I hiked to those lookouts.
With your
And,
pack mules?
I had pack mules. Had to. I covered a lot of country when I was packing the lookouts. You couldn't walk it. And I had to carry supplies.
And helicopters just weren't an option.
They wasn't into being until later.
Because you're talking 19 and
1946, I started with the mule train.
so the war was over and the fear of balloons and such, that had passed.
They was set up there for fire, watch for fire.
But the Japanese incendiary bombs,
Oh yeah,
balloons had come in the early 40s.
Yeah, they watched for them.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, but their main purpose is to watch for fire.
Oh, sure, because, I mean, that was the whole purpose of those incendiary bombs. I really don't know how many of them there were. I hear rumors that one landed here and one landed there, and Doug's dad showed him where one was down in California, but we know that one happened to land right out near Walker Mountain.
I know, but they hushed it up. That's why.
They hushed it up, but if you go to Pottsville Museum, you can see it. And old Deb said, hey.
Now that's the nude carving in stone at Crater Lake.
Now this is really history. It's called, what's the name of it? What's the name of this carving?
Well, it's Lady of the Woods.
Lady of the Woods. Now, where did it come from?
My opinion, and I think I'm right, their opinion, it was carved by a doctor that was working on the highway, building the road up to Crater Lake. And the doctor had time to build it. Well, it's a good story. But I saw it in the 20s, and it was already corroded, old.
So you're saying
it was not carved in 1918, as they say there.
Oh, well, history books.
My history, I found out there was 32 Spanish missionaries came through this country, and they stayed one summer at Crater Lake. They're the ones that carved that.
Whoo, in what year?
I don't remember right offhand, but you see, that's where this come into being. Now, before we run out of time here, I've got something else I want to talk to you about.
You keep me on track, okay?
Okay.
Because I love Crater Lake. I just think it had people on talking about building the road up there.
Well, I brought this along because I have a whole book full of pictures.
But what is this?
Well, I'll explain it. In the old days, they got together, this guy had a little money and this guy, and they built railroad their plans was from Grants Pass to Crescent City.
Okay.
What they call a short line railroad, and it was called the California and Oregon Coast Railroad Company.
Okay, now, why was it California?
Because they came from Crescent City. They built 23 miles up the Smith River, and you're going down past Patrick Creek. You look on the bank, you can see where they cut the railroad right away. They cut out the right away.
You mean,
Grants Pass got as far as the bottom of Hayes Hill.
I could have taken the train from the ocean, cleared the,
This is as far. This is the old picture of Grants Pass here. This is the bottom of Hayes Hill. You would not believe it to look at it now.
oh my goodness, that's a major road building. And what was the reason that they wanted to build this? Did it ever work? Did they ever have trains on this?
Oh yes, they run it. Wilderville became quite a station. They had a big celebration at Wilderville when they got the train that far. Oh, they used to laugh. You could go out there, but you had to back up. There's no way to turn around. They'd always say you had to back up to Grants Pass.
Well, now, what was in Wilderville worth going there to? Why would you take a train to Wilderville?
Well, it was on its way to the coast.
Okay.
That was a railroad stop.
Okay.
It was built as a railroad station.
And they ran out of money?
Huh?
They ran out of money?
Then they went from there on over to the bottom of Hayes Hill, and that's what the picture shows, Hayes Hill, loading the ore from the mine and smelter out at Waldo.
What kind of mine?
Well, they had that stuff, they got copper
Copper.
from Waldo.
Now, is that
They hauled that by mule to there, and then from there they loaded it on a train.
Now, is this wartime we're talking about?
No, this was long before. It's long before that. Up till that time, but they kept running out of money and couldn't run out of money, and they'd borrow money on it, and then Grants Pass would foreclose on the property, but Grants Pass never got into the railroad business. It was a private industry. But I want you to read something here on this, a moment in Josephine County history, and this tells about the California-Oregon Coast Railroad. I got it marked right there, and I want you to read that.
Well, you know, my glasses are in someplace else, so you'll have to tell the story.
You can't read it?
No, not without glasses.
Well, you'll understand what I'm joking about.
Okay. You got glasses too.
Okay,
Now, the whole reason they were going to take Crescent City was shipping, right?
Yeah, oh yes, to stop that
Oh my, wouldn't history have been
Okay,
different?
let me read this. The city of Grants Pass has never had possession of the railroad and never operated it. The city has never filed any tariffs nor held itself out as a public utility offering railroad service to the public. Legal title to the railroad was conveyed by the city to other interests prior to 1920 and was reacquired by the city as a result of foreclosure.
Okay. Ran out of money.
Okay. Now the only option they wanted to get, a city could not operate the road as it had no budget or equipment to do so. So here's the finish. The only option was abandonment proceedings, which the people of Grants Pass voted favorably on. Mayor Robert C. Martin.
Uh-oh. Daddy did what?
He spearheaded the action.
Now, the reason that train had stopped running long before, right?
I used to ride the train from here to Jerome Prairie. They hauled ore down off of that mountain, and if you'll look out there in Jerome Prairie, if you're out there by the fairgrounds, you look out there in the mountain, you can see the cavern where they dug this ore out of.
Okay.
And they hauled it down to and loaded the rail cars there. And
Well, what's the Wilderville connection?
the Wilderville was on the railroad station on the way to Crescent City.
And it went.
And it got as far as Hayes Hill, and that's where they load the stuff. Coming from Crescent City, they got 23 miles up Crescent City, up the Smith River, and everything went pop. Money-wise, everything.
So they both come this way to Big Mountains and go.
Yeah, they was going to come together and build a railroad all the way through.
Oh, wow.
But
because option was they were still using mules to bring to the mules to bring the ore down to these places to get on the train?
Oh, yes, yes.
So you remember the mules?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because it was up in the 40s even, up almost in the wartime when they finally give that up.
Uh-huh. Oh, I kind of remember. It was just abandoned. Now they've built a road on that right away.
Yeah.
Out to the college, Rogue Community College. It's a good access from there. Now, you were part of this. Now, when you said you'd ride the train, are you telling me that you jumped the train?
We hitchhiked.
Did they know you were hitchhiking? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, when they knew, I think, that we used to
But you
come out of the bus and grab it, because when it was going slow through Jerome Prairie, and we'd grab it and ride it into Grants Pass, or we'd catch it going the other way and go back.
Now, you'd say Jerome Prairie, you lived out in the country. You lived way out in the country?
Yeah, you know where Jerome Prairie
Yeah?
is. Yeah, okay. We lived out there right before you get to the Applegate River.
And I've heard a little bit about your friend who was my babysitter. In fact, I put this show together because I was in the computer store talking Apple computers, which is what I use, and they said, just a minute, we've got a TV show for you. There was this old man. See, they think you're old because got a whiskers.
I'm only 85.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, but 85, let me show you something.
Woo, Mr. Muscles.
Well, it's either that or a wheelchair.
Keep walking. That sounds like that program Henry teaches, walk, walk, walk for your health. And they hand me this card and say, you ought to talk to this guy on TV. I said, Harold Teague? Why, I did a show with him 5 years ago, right? And Harold, we talked about other things then, because you took me up to a funny, non-existent town of Waldo.
I didn't bring it with me, but I have a list of every little country. If they just stopped to the place and named something, I got a list of it, of every town in the county.
Well, Waldo just does not exist because, as Harold told me years ago, the miners came in and got the gold that was easy to get, built the hotel by the stream, built some other big buildings, and then they said, underneath those buildings, there's probably more gold, so guess what?
Yeah, they just tore everything down and washed for gold.
Washed with sloughs?
Hydraulic.
Hydraulic.
Yeah, they wash for gold.
Now, how much of Waldo do you know about personally?
About what?
Did you see Waldo in its heyday, or?
Not really, no. I remember people that still lived there. 3 minutes left.
Well, he took me to where the graves are, and there's a cemetery up there, 2 of them.
All right, take a look at that. That's about $100 worth of gold from that area.
Wow, folks. This is about dime size.
You see, a level teaspoon of gold worth over $400.
Ooh, a teaspoon of gold. Now, did you get this? Did you mind?
Oh yeah, I mine out there once in a while. I used to do quite a bit of it.
Well, Waldo, interesting place, because there's two cemeteries. One has gravestones and one has open mounds, right? The reason that they have the open mounds in the other graveyard, the Chinese people said, we're not leaving our bones of our dead here. And they opened the graves. Interesting, this guy can teach me an awful lot.
Yeah, I've done one of these books on that cemetery.
And you took me also to a place where my husband and I went, where you could still see where the wagons came down over, was that Oregon Mountain?
The old wagon train road.
Those ruts are still there. I mean, folks, you can get out and explore stuff.
Well, the reason, once you get started, like I did, into this history, older people, like Ruth Pepperly, she was an author. She wrote quite a number of books.
Right.
She was one of my best friends. Religiously, I listened to her.
Uh-huh, because she knew.
She knew.
Folks, listen to ask Grandma and Grandpa to tell you stories. Use a video camera, use a tape recorder, or get him on the show with you. I'd love to talk to him. Harold, you've been a great guest, and I sure thank you. I'm going to give you back your $100, but that's pretty nice. You probably got lots more stories up your sleeve about mules, about all the things and places you've been.
Oh yeah, just like this Monique, when I'd stop going on a trail, she'd lay her head on your shoulder.
Oh.
The love of an animal, absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to Journeys and Journals. And Harold, thank you for being my guest. I'm Bernie Martin Beck saying bye for now.
Okay.